Hello and welcome back to the Merry Tyler Moore East, where today we are building this industrial park. But first, for the data junkies that I know are out there, I'm going to show off some of the data of my city because I love crunching numbers and I love analytics. So here is a little special treat. You can see a lot of the statistics of the city, its growth patterns, and it kind of gives you an idea of where the region is headed for growth. The Tyler Moore East is a much more rural area than the Tyler Moore and has much slower growth and far fewer problems. It's likely going to stay very rural, but there is a lot of growth about to happen in the region for the same reasons why the Tyler Moore is growing. We just need more affordable housing and we need more spaces for all of the people who have to flee their homes that have been ravaged by climate change and by war. And here you can see Tyler Moore East is pretty perfectly positioned, pardon the alliteration, to be a new space for these people who need to find a new home. Lots of room to grow here. So I just figured this would be a fun little way for you to ogle all of the data within my city. For those of you who are like me and are data junkies. But for the most part, this episode is about the building of a new industrial park. Now, this has a very good reason. Linked to this data, the town or the city of Martha's Point is growing. We just added a new department to the city planning division or the county planning division. And instead of building the city around a tiny little lump of industry, we're going to give the industry a proper home just across the river from Martha's Point in a new town called Rundgren, here in the Tyler Moore East. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, as always, it is such a pleasure to have you join me here in the Moorlands. Now, Rundgren is here out of necessity for proper space for industrial areas. This is the former Pernod denim jacket factory, which was bought out by a local French company called the Moulin Tricot, which literally means the knitting mill. They've moved the factory facilities across the river where they can expand the facilities of the property, giving it more parking space and better access to the warehouses full of the goods that they need to produce the clothing. Now, the clothing factory has been in Martha's Point for a very long time. Has really been the only industrial development in the town, in the city. But it is a vital part of the community and its culture because a lot of people work here. For the former Pernod denim jacket factory, all of the employees are being kept. No one is being let go. All of the positions are going to be expanded, so there will be new hires. They're going to be manufacturing a lot more than just denim jackets here. So there's a great opportunity for growth. With that, we're going to have to expand the parking lot, and we're going to have to create a bus line so that there's a transit system bringing people from the city across the bridge towards the industrial park area. We're also going to have to bring the warehouses over, and we're going to be adding a lot of new warehouses for the new businesses that will be growing throughout Rundgren. This is going to be an almost 100% industrial town, I guess. Development is going to be very small, but it's going to be designed in a way that it will have the best flow of goods throughout it. So there will be a future cargo train station. There will be wide roads with big intersections so that the trucks will have a better turning radius when they turn a corner. The access is right off the main highway ramp, which, since Martha's Point has a bypass going past it now, and you no longer have to drive through Martha's Point to switch from one highway to another, the traffic at this particular overpass or juncture with a highway, there is not a whole lot of traffic here anymore. Most of the traffic is using the highway bypass. So this is an underutilized highway on-ramp and off-ramp interchange. So this whole area should have much better access to goods and for shipping unique factory products out to the rest of the cities in the Tyler Moor East. Now you might be wondering where the name Rundgren comes from, because a lot of the names, well, pretty much every place in the Moorlands has a very purposeful name behind it. Now, Rundgren is named after the pop artist from the 70s, Todd Rundgren. I'm a fan of his music. I really like it, but that's not the reason why I'm naming it after. You see, he basically wins Father of the Century for the 20th century. He, for a long time, was thought to be the father of Liv Tyler, and he, for a very long time, was a wonderful father to her. It was later found out that Steve Tyler was Liv Tyler's father, but that didn't change the way that Todd Rundgren treated Liv Tyler. He was still a fantastic father to her. Suddenly Liv Tyler had two dads. A wonderful situation to be in, especially if they're both good to you. So Todd Rundgren, I think, deserves a tip of the hat, and I can name an industrial park after him. I think that's the least kind of recognition I can give him. Considering most places that I name after people within the Moorland are usually named after important and strong women, Todd Rundgren is one of those exceptions. He is a strong and wonderful man, and strong and wonderful men need to be recognized as well. So here is the new town of Rundgren. I'm going to make sure there's plenty of parking here. You're going to be horrified, as I am, by the amount of paving that has to happen here, but it's necessary for all of the people who will be working here. Not all of the factory workers will be coming directly from Martha's Point, so not all of them will be able to just quickly take the bus across the bridge. Some will be driving in from other communities and need a place to park. So we're going to be doing that up before we get into the transit mode. I do want to point out that this is a relatively short episode. This is basically phase 1 of Rundgren. We're going to be coming back in later episodes to continue building this out and improving it and turning it into a state-of-the-art, well-oiled machine that is just going to function and produce and help our commercial areas stay vivid and alive, instead of dying off as what happened in large amounts in the Tyler Moor when I hit the vehicle limit. Here we've not hit the vehicle limit, and I would like to keep my businesses operating smoothly. So this is the reason for building out Rundgren in such a large way. This is going to be a large project over several episodes, but in the end it is going to be the prime place to open a manufacturing facility in the Moorlands. Now, the Accessibility and Equity Planning Division that just opened up across the way is going to ensure that we have a lot of accessible parking close to the building's entrance. That way we can have plenty of people with physical disabilities working in a weaving mill. There's no reason why a person in a wheelchair could not operate a weaving machine, either from their wheelchair or from another seated position. A lot of this stuff is robotics. A lot of it is computerized now. So we're going to make sure that there is equal opportunity for people with physical disabilities to have a wonderful job here in this very modern high-tech weaving mill. Just going to be filling out the rest of this parking space, and then we're going to be doing a bit of warehouse work. Now, warehouses are very important. When you're building with DLC Industries, you have to make sure that you have one warehouse for every good that the factory needs in order to produce their product. So, for example, the clothing factory here needs several. They definitely need animal products. They definitely need oil products, as well as a few other things. So I'm going to make sure that there is at least one warehouse per needed item for the factory. That way, when the products are produced out of their resource extraction point and processed in the respective industrial district, the product can then be shipped directly over here to the factory. Now, the game mechanics don't work in a way that you can just take a shipment of animal products from a farm and deliver it directly to the clothing factory. I wish it worked that way, but that's not the way that the game mechanics work. So if you want it to work to the game's needs, then you can't make it super realistic. You have to have a transfer point. So you have to build a warehouse outside of the factory for the products that it needs. So I'll be relocating the factories that I did have in Martha's Point out here to Rundgren shortly. That way I can have goods shipped from my resource extractors and their production associates and ship it to this warehouse across the street from the factory, and the factory can then go to the warehouse, pick up the goods, and bring it to the factory. That will be a well-functioning and efficient clothing factory. Along with these warehouses, I have to also make sure there's a place for the product that the factory produces to go to, because that itself won't be shipped directly from the factory to the store, which is, would work in real life. It would be nice if that would work the same way in the game, but that's just not the way the mechanics run. So I'm also going to have to ensure that there is a warehouse that accepts unique factory products right near this factory. That way the product can be quickly and swiftly shipped across the street to the warehouse, and the factory will be able to continue production without having a ZOT flashing above it saying not enough buyers for the product. With a warehouse across the street, it will quickly ship the goods away. The factory's trucks won't be used up and stuck in traffic on a highway somewhere, which will keep things moving efficiently through the region. Now, we also need crops for the factory. I feel like this is too rural a building to be in an industrial area, so I'm going to sort of hybridize it in with a factory. The factory needs the crops anyway, so why wouldn't it build its grain silos right there? It would also be nice if the game would let us put crops in a warehouse instead of only in the grain elevators, because realistically you're not going to be putting all of your beets and all of your corn and all of your goat cheese in a grain silo. But that's a rant for another day. Right now we're going to build a lovely little parkette here for the factory workers to enjoy their lunch. Lots of beautiful flowering trees and picnic tables and benches, but nothing too fancy, just a little quick something. And then we're going to wrap it up for this episode, and we will continue building out Rundgren in the next episode of the Tyler Moore East, which is coming soon. So check back shortly, stay tuned, and you will see the completion of all of the region of Rundgren, this new industrial park that will serve the city of Martha's Point here in the Tyler Moore East. Thank you again for visiting. I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.